Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Lake County Sentinel Sports Extra Cavaliers Weekly Report for October 27th, 2025. The Cavs, played 3 games opening week. Last season they started out the year 15-0. This year they lost the opener in New York in a close game. There were a lot, as I said previously, there were a lot of factors in that game. We're not going to go into them all right now. It's the past, so there's not really any reason to go into them. But, we know what happens when you go to New York and play. I mean, come on. We know. So they dropped the opener in New York, 119-111. And, let's say that this Sentinel Sports Extra Cavs Weekly Report is brought to you by CT Roofing and Power Washing, the official roofer of the Lake County Sentinel. So let's move on here. I got a little ahead of myself there. The Cavs are 2-1. They're 1-0 at home. They are currently the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference and in second place in the the Central Division of the Eastern Conference, behind the Chicago Bulls. So they lost. As I said, they lost that game in New York. We're done talking about that. Then Friday night they went to Brooklyn and beat the Nets 131-124. I believe they had a 27-point lead at one point in that game, but it got close near the end. You got to give a team like the Knicks credit. You got to give them credit. They didn't just mail it in at the end. They played tough to the end. But the Cavs won the game 131-124, and the final result is all that matters. I saw some people being critical. Of course they were being critical. These are the same people that are always critical. These are the same people that complain about everything. They complain about absolutely everything. Small sample people. They'll act like one game determines the season. One quarter determines the season. My God, the game was closer than it should have been in Brooklyn. The sun came up the next morning. The world is still spinning. This is not the lineup, hopefully, that the Cavs will have at the end of the season when the playoffs begin. Darius Garland is out. Max Strus is out. DeAndre Hunter was out that game. But you got the same people who whine and complain about one game in Cleveland. So we have to, I think that we were on the air we've been on TikTok. Something happened with our YouTube and Twitter and Facebook stream. We went off for a minute. But we're back on now. This is the Sentinel Sports Extra Cavs Weekly Report, brought to you by CT Power Roofing and Power Washing, as we said that already. So we'll said it again. Reviewing the Cavs' first week that they lost in New York, won in Brooklyn, and then last night they beat Milwaukee in a close game. It was a good game. I was covering that game at Rocket Arena. It was a very competitive game. I think it could have gone either way at the end. The Bucks are a good team, though, people. If you think the Bucks aren't a good team, then you haven't been paying attention. Giannis looks back to normal. He looks good. And this AJ Green guy that they have. This guy reminds me of Danny Ainge. Like he's a pest. Like you see him and you think, okay, how good is this guy? And then he plays. And you're like, oh my God, this guy's killing us. So the Bucks are a good team, but the Cavs, as I wrote in my article, they outlasted them. They beat them 118, 113. But the funny thing here is that they have drone shows after Cavs games a couple times a year. And I know last year, I believe they had 2, and both games went to overtime. And, they announced the drone show in the fourth quarter, and the game was getting close at that point. And I thought, oh, crap. Now we're going to have another overtime game during a drone show. But it didn't happen. So this time the Cavs were able to win it in regulation, and the drone show was not delayed. I was inside writing, so I've never seen one of these drone shows, but I'm sure they're pretty good. But they held on. They beat the Bucks. Giannis had 40 for the Bucks. He led everybody. Mitchell had 24. That he had 10 in the fourth quarter. Mobley had 23, but he went 12 for 12 from the free throw line, and that was huge last night. There were many times last year where the Cavs struggled to make their free throws, and they lost some games because of it. I know they didn't lose very many games last year, but they lost a couple games because of their free throw shooting. And, so it was very good to see Evan Mobley go 12 for 12 from the free throw line. He had 23 points. He went 10 for 10. 10 for 10 in the fourth quarter. I believe he scored the last 6 points, or he hit his 6 straight. He hit 6 straight free throws, which is what, pretty much gave the Cavs the win. Let's be honest. So the emergence of Evan Mobley is great. Everyone thought it could happen. I think some people thought it was going slower than it should. But when you talk to NBA scouts, they didn't. And they also still think that he's got a couple years of growth left to get even better. He's more physical in the middle now. He did gain weight, but he's more physical mentally, and I think that's huge with watching how he has grown as a player now in his 4th season with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's just really good, and he's going to be a superstar in this league for a long time. And hopefully it's with the Cavaliers the whole time. Hopefully he doesn't try to head home and go play for the Lakers or the Clippers. But let's not worry about that now. I just love watching Evan Mobley grow and become the player he has. And he's a good human being too, and that helps you root for a guy like him. But so let's see here. We've got this next week coming up for the Cavaliers, who currently occupy 6th place in the Eastern Conference and 2nd place in the Eastern Conference Central Division. They're behind Chicago in the Eastern Conference Central Division. But this week they have they have 4 games. It's pretty much an every other night thing. They play tonight, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. They will have 2 home games where they play. Not tonight though. Tonight they're on the road. They're in Detroit at Little Caesars Arena against the Detroit Pistons and former Cavs coach J.B. Bickerstaff. I'm old enough to remember when his dad coached, the late Bernie Bickerstaff. But he's going to get Detroit probably where he got the Cavs. I think he's that kind of coach where he's good at building a young team into something. I don't know if they get to where he can get them over the top, though, kind of like the Cavs. But that's who the Cavs play tonight. The Pistons are 2-1. They're 1-0 at home at Little Caesars. And tonight the game is on Peacock, the Peacock Network, NBA on NBC/Peacock. But tonight is just on Peacock. It is the first ever exclusive Peacock game. So you can watch the Cavaliers and Pistons on Peacock at 7 o'clock. And then the Cavs will be off tomorrow, and then they go. I mean, this is the second game of back-to-back. So then they're off tomorrow, and then they travel to Boston to play the Celtics at TD Bank Garden. The Celtics are 0-3. They are 0-2 at home. And so I'm not sure if they play tonight or tomorrow. I didn't look that up, so I'm not going to assume. But let's hope the Cavs can give them a loss also, because it's really fun seeing the Celtics 0-3. And I know they don't have Jalen Tyson, but Tatum. But you know what? It's still fun to see. It's still fun to see the Celtics start out 0-3. The standings don't care who you have hurt, right? They don't care. So then Friday, Halloween night, the Cavs will be at home at Rocket Arena. I will not be there covering the game. I will be covering high school playoffs. But we will be back there on Sunday then when they play the Atlanta Hawks at 6 p.m. But the Friday game against the Raptors are 1-2. They're 1-1 on the road. That game's at 7:30 on Friday. And then the Sunday game, of course, is at 6 p.m. The Hawks are 1-2, and they are 1-0 on the road. So that pretty much gives you the what's coming up, what happened last week. I'm not surprised the Cavs are 2-1 at this point, with Darius Garland and Max Strus being out and Hunter missing, the first two games. He contributed in a positive way last night, so that was good. Sam Merrill's looked good so far, but I'm going to be honest. Some people want to gloss over certain players. And I'm not saying that he's bad. But I'm also not going to say that Sam Merrill is great. Yes, can he hit three-point shots? He can. But he also, it's happened every year. It's happened both years where he goes a couple times a year. He'll go through like a 2-week period where he couldn't hit a three-point shot if he was throwing it in the ocean. And his defense is still not good. I don't care what anybody tells me. I don't care what the defensive metrics tell. I don't care any of that crap. I think that Sam Merrill's not good defensively. There were some people early on that compared him to Mark Price. That is the biggest BS I've ever heard. He's not even close to Mark Price. No way. Absolutely no way. But he's looked good in the first, in these 3 games early. So we'll see. He's not a starter in the NBA. But I just don't think he's great. I think he's good, but he's not great. But I'll take him as a backup point guard when maybe the team needs to go on a run and he's hot. There's nobody better when he's hot, but that doesn't always last with him. So I think that, 2-1 is 2-1. 2 is 1, and 1 is not surprising that they are 2-1. people were like, "Oh, they started 15-0 last year." Well, yeah, not everybody, that's happened like 4 times in NBA history. I'm like, okay, the teams have gotten off to starts like that. So for you to expect it again is kind of ridiculous. I feel like they've gotten to the stage now, where teams that are going to be good for a while and have good runs and win a championship, hopefully, or 2, they get to where the regular season is about preparation for the postseason. Getting healthy, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. We can, talk about the regular season and think that it matters. But as long as you make the playoffs, you have a chance. And the Cavs are going to probably end up being the number 1 seed in the East, because they're going to rip off some big winning streaks. They are. They're a good team. They're the best team in the East right now, roster construction wise, coaching wise. They're the best team in the East. 2-1 is 2-1. Big deal. I think that the world wouldn't be spinning any different if they were 3-0. So, 2-1 is good. You 2-1, you go 2-1 the whole way. You win like I don't know. I'm trying to think. You probably win in 55 games, I think, something like that. So, why would 53 games? I think that would be. So I think that 2-1 is is a good spot right now. And they have this week, they have 4 games that they could win all 4. But as we did with the Guardians, I'm going to say that they go 3-1 this week in the 4 games, and they drop either tonight's game or they drop the game Sunday against Atlanta. I don't think they should lose to the Raptors, and they shouldn't lose to, this is fun to say, and they shouldn't lose to the hapless Celtics, even though it's in Boston and all the calls will go their way. They're the hapless Celtics right now. So I think that we should be okay with 2-1. If anybody's panicking that they're 2-1, I don't know. You probably haven't watched a lot of sports or understand how an NBA season goes. But, there's really not, a lot. I think there'll be more as the season goes on. These shows will probably get longer. They'll always be between 15 minutes and a half hour. But I'm not going to bore you with trying to come up with a bunch of stuff to talk about for 15 more minutes. That would just be stupid. But I think that, like I said, I think the Cavs go 3-1 this week. They either lose the game tonight or they lose the game against Atlanta. This one's in Detroit against Atlanta. Atlanta's better. So we'll see. But I think they go 3-1. Hopefully they'll do what the Guardians did, and they'll make me be wrong almost every week. Until, next Sunday when the Cavs play Atlanta at Rocket Arena, I'll be covering that game. And until then, Cavs fans, have a good week. I'll be back with some other shows on this, on the Lake County Sentinel broadcasting system, I guess we'd like to call it. Tomorrow night, we have our fantasy football show. Thursday night, we'll have our NFL prediction show. Friday afternoon at 3:00, we'll have our Beyond the Gates weekly review of the CBS soap opera Beyond the Gates. But so until tomorrow night with the fantasy football show, I hope everybody has a good day and watch the Cavs tonight and, root them to a win.